have no great benefits and pension. So what you're gonna have to do is you have to raise the bar. That means, and people ain't gonna want to hear this, the PT standard should be one standard.
Yeah.
If you can't make the standard, you can't be a cop. I don't care if you're a woman or a man.
It needs
you can't
to be
make the standard, huh?
It needs to be an annual.
Oh yeah, no, not just that. I'm talking about
Yeah.
annual is the definite, but the initial thing is no discrimination between men and women. If you can't make the PT test, you can't be a cop. If you can't make the academic achievement, you know, when you do the preliminary test, you can't be a cop. If you have this and this and this in your background, you can't be a cop. They pay you a lot of money and they train the heck out of you so you're a qualified cop. Every year, you have to have, the police department has to provide training for cops to do shooting. Even if they do it on their own, they need to provide ammo. They need to provide a checklist where cops can go on the weekend or at least once a month and work on proficiency.
Right.
And they need to provide tactical, physical training, physical self-defense training for police officers. Every police officer needs to know some form of mixed martial arts. Every officer. That is required. They pay for it. They send you through the training, and we get that. And officers are held to a high standard, meaning that, and I'm going to tell you, there's a caveat to this. If you get a formal complaint, proven complaint of a use of force issue, you're fired. You're fired. Now, let's go with this.
All right.
All the things that I said will prevent or have a huge effect on how many bad interactions people have.
Yes.
However, you may not have enough police if you do that.
Correct.
Because if you put the bar here, physical fitness, how many people in the world are physically fit like that if you have never done any kind of training in your life? You may have a good heart, you may want to serve, but if you're not physically fit, you just isolated an entire population and you pretty much took out all the women that want to be police. And then you go through and you say, okay, I'm going to teach you physical self-defense training and you have to shoot every month. Some people don't want to go through the training. Some people don't want to get beat up in MMA classes. They don't want that. So they're going to drop off. If you have one complaint of a use of force that was proven, I'm not talking about use of force where it's negligent and criminal, but I'm talking about that you had excessive force on a person. They complained on you because you put not excessive force. I mean, like you tighten down the handcuffs too tight, or you swung a person on the ground, taking them down, and you were rough with them and you shouldn't have been.
Right.
Then you're going to lose a whole tier of officers. Then you're going to have a police department that don't have enough officers to respond to your calls for service. So we have to, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but we have to meet in the middle.
Absolutely.
I think we can bring up the standards. We can pay officers more. We can allocate more funds to get them well trained. And therefore, when you pay more, you can require more. You can require more life experience. You can require more educational experience. You can require more things. And then you'll get better quality officers. What people are going to experience now is policing is going to get worse. Why? Our department did it before. We went through a ebb and flow. They can't get officers right now because they bashed the profession. Nobody wants to be a cop. Any decision you make is scrutinized. They can't get officers. So what they have to do, they have to lower the standards. So the test to get into the thing is lower. The PT test is lower. Your background check, they make exceptions, right? You could smoke weed now within the last 2 years or last 6 months. You could have had 5 or 6 traffic stops that you were speeding on that they're going to overlook because they need people to be on the streets. So the public needs to meet us in the middle and say, let's get officers more training. Let's pay officers more. Let's give them more benefits. Let's get them more self-defense training. Let's get them more firearms training. Let's have them be held accountable and help them with their physical fitness training. And then, even then, my brother, you still are not going to eliminate the potential for bad people.
This is true. They just need
how many pastors are doing what they're supposed to do? Let me say this too. and I'm gonna shut up. Medical malpractice kills over 200. The numbers that I looked at, what they believe is around 400,000.
Right.
426,000, I think, is the number.
Yeah.
Medical malpractice kill 400,000+ people every single year. Cops killed 1,200 people, and half of those people are pulling guns on cops in the justified shooting. Right. They kill 400,000 people. Should the doctors have body-worn cameras?
Facts.
Do we need medical reform? Because they're killing. It'll take 100 years. No, it'll take 400 years. Is my math right? It'll take like 400 years for police officers at the rate in which they kill citizens to kill as many people as doctors do in 1 year.
Facts.
400 years of policing.
Yeah.
So when you look at these things, you say, ladies and gentlemen, let's try to do what's best for our officers. Let's try to make sure they have the proper mental health. Let's get them well trained. Let's get the money and the funding going so we don't have officers that are not prepared for these situations. And then let's also be realistic.
Right.
We're not going to eliminate bad officers. When you see a kid get murdered, maybe that mess you up for life. When you see a young man get murdered, or you see a man beheaded, or you see a person died in a traffic stop, maybe that's going to mess you up, because I've seen many people get killed by drunk drivers. I mean, literally beheaded.
Yes.
One guy was bent up like this, and he was in the trunk of the car. And another guy, it was a few other really bad ones. What did that make you feel when you stop a man that's drunk? You know what I'm saying? It make you feel, it angers you a little bit.
Yeah.
Or you see the car where the car flipped over, drunk driver hit the car, flipped over, the kids are laying out on the street.
And the drunk driver is out walking around.
He's walking around.
Yeah.
He's walking around with a scratch on his forehead.
Right.
My friends were killed by a drunk driver. All of them. They were in a Grand Marquis, drunk driver going on the freeway, head-on collision with one of them old metal trucks, dude.
Yeah.
The truck barely had damage. That guy went to the hospital. He died a couple days later. Four of my friends were completely destroyed. Damn. The only thing left in that car was the trunk. And they were all smashed all over the freeway. So when you see things like that in policing, that may hurt people. And they may never recover from it. They may become more aggressive. They may become more jaded. So I don't mean to make excuses, man, but I'm like, I wish that people understood the nuances. Let's talk about things we can do better, but then let's also understand the reality of policing, and let's meet in the middle. And here's the thing. Let's hold people accountable.
Right.
If you shoot a man and you kill a man, I mean, like Walter Scott. I did a video on Walter Scott. The guy shot him in the back. The cop shot him in the back, and he deserved to go to prison for it.
Yeah, he had the taser on the ground. He threw the taser, made it look like,
But see, people don't listen. I went so far to say that cops that intentionally murder people should get the death penalty. That's what I say. Because premeditated or intentionally murdering somebody, like shooting a man in the back, there's no reason to shoot a man in the back, and he's running. He running like he got 3 left legs. The dude is hobbling like this.
Yeah.
I mean, you could throw a rock and hit him in the back of the head. You shoot that man in the back and you cover it up with a taser.
Yeah.
You got the uniform on. You should get the death penalty, in my opinion.
Facts.
But people don't listen to that part of Brandon Tatum. Like, I'm all for covering you. If you make a mistake, you should be held accountable. But, whatever according to the law. That's why. Now let me talk about qualified immunity.
All right.
People don't understand qualified immunity very well, because police officers aren't uniquely exposed to the exception of qualified immunity. So is public officials, so is governors and other people like that.
Judges and stuff. Yeah.
I think that qualified immunity is 100% something that police officers should be able to accept. Because what people don't understand is that qualified immunity does not protect you if you kill somebody. If you kill somebody and you were found guilty, you don't get immunity. Qualified immunity is when you do something and you acted on behalf of the state in good faith. Meaning that if you're driving down the street, you go on code 3 to save somebody's life, and somebody jaywalked and you smashed and killed them, you should not be sent to prison or have to worry about the legal ramifications behind something that you did while you were acting in good faith. If you shoot a man in the back or you George Floyd somebody,
right,
there is no such thing as protection of qualified immunity for you. And people don't understand that. If you are innocent, or you are presumed innocent, or you do something in good faith acting on behalf of the state, you have protections in place. If officers have to defend themselves from every situation that occurs on duty, we have no officers, brother. There's no reason to be a police officer. Because if the policy says you can kneel on somebody's neck, just hypothetically,
right,
and you adhere to the policy and kill somebody, you should be held accountable for that. If the policy says the use of force continuum goes where you use verbal reaction, you use verbal judo with somebody. I'm paraphrasing, and then you go to soft hand control. You go to taser. Taser doesn't work. You start escalating force. You use the force continuum 100% like the law says, and you kill a person who's unarmed. You should be able to be protected because you acted in good faith according to the law and according to use of force policy. You should not be held accountable and have to deal with your own court fees when situations like that arise. I hope I'm explaining it properly. I think people just don't understand that, like, qualified immunity don't apply when you are taking somebody's life unjustifiably.
Right. Well, the issue that I get with people with qualified immunity is they don't really understand the purpose of it is to protect officers from civil liability. People are saying that if officers can be sued directly, it would help correct bad behavior. Now, we know people sue the deepest pockets, which is the department. My thing is, there's a caveat in qualified immunity that I believe creates an umbrella. Again, this issue is that it protects good officers in good faith, and it can also be used to protect bad officers. Because at the end of the day, you have a bad officer who can lean on, well, I was in fear for my life type of thing. We know we use that, which is a legitimate explanation. But it also can be used for an officer who actually is inadequately trained, an officer who necessarily might not have been fearful, but very reckless with his response to an incident or a situation. Or it could just be used for an officer to protect himself or herself if they're actually just lying and they are criminal in their actions, right? So I think
aren't criminal?
That are criminal.
Well, when you go to the criminal side of it, well, I was under the impression on our department, that people can sue you civilly.
Right.
They can.
Yes, they can.
If you violate somebody's constitutional rights, especially you get fired,
right,
they can sue you civilly.
Yes.
Chauvin, the family not gonna sue Chauvin because he ain't got no money.
Right. They want the pension. The pension is what people want.
Huh?
The pension is what people want to get.
Right. And so he's not gonna get a pension, obviously, because he got fired.
Right, he got fired.
And also he was ordered to pay restitution. Now, the man ain't got no money. Now let me explain this too. Think about this scenario, right? Because the department pays a family out, don't mean the officer was even guilty. So they shot Rashard Brooks. I'm sure they paid his family out. What's his name? That was in Kenosha. He got shot in the back 5 times. He's paralyzed.
Yeah.
Jacob Blake.
Yeah.
Jacob Blake had a knife. Jacob Blake presented himself as a deadly threat. He was in violation of a restraining order. They shot him. They were justified in using force against him. They paid his family like I don't know how many millions. Yeah. Now, think about this. What people want in a qualified immunity situation is that they want an officer to not have protection if the officer did what was right according to the law, yet the people can still come sue him.
Which is not right.
Because what happened with the department is that the cops were justified. But a wrongful death suit can be pursued, or an injurious pursuit can be pursued. The department settles with them.
Correct.
People think the department lost the lawsuit and they pay out. They don't. They settle with the family, and that's what. And then what people don't understand is that in settling with the family, the department is absolved of any wrongdoing, and the police officers. So if you shoot a man, like any of these situations we've seen, Michael Brown family got paid out $5 million. Something. The cop was justified in using force according to the Department of Justice.
Right.
And so it's not fair that if that officer was justified, that the family can sue him because they believe that in a wrongful death suit, they can sue him. And now the officer has the burden to defend himself against Benjamin Crump or some of these big high-powered lawyers, even though the cop was justified and according to the law.
Right. And I think that's the issue people conflate, is the fact the officer was justified in doing his job though he did not have intentions of killing said person. The person died because of whatever internal issues or the officer applying the force. Though it was, and again, I don't remember all the details in the case with the guy who was choked out. But that is the issue. The issue is the officers authorized to use force. They used it. They did not have. They can't find evidence that would suggest that the officer intended to kill them. So therefore, it was a wrongful death. They didn't mean to kill him, but he died while the officer was acting under the color of law. Meaning he had a legitimate reason to stop him. He had a legitimate reason to detain him, cuff him, arrest him, or whatever. And the person died in police custody because of that. And so that is why a lot of departments still settle. People are saying that this thing that's going on, you hear a lot of activists say, get rid of qualified immunity. As my perspective, I look at it as just as a problem solver. I say officers should be licensed to perform this job, just like you have doctors have medical malpractice. They have medical malpractice insurance. I believe officers should be insured. And that way you put the onus back on officers and you can address the qualified immunity issue. Meaning, if I have $1 million insurance policy to perform this job, I have a license to perform this job. It'll also allow me to police in any state in this country. I'm insured. I have $1 million policy. If I violate someone's constitutional rights, if I'm wrong in my pursuits of doing this job, people have a right to sue me directly. I have insurance that saves the taxpayer money, because that's another issue too. Do you think that is a good idea? Officers get insurance.
No,
why not?
The only reason I say no is because they're acting on behalf of the state.
Okay.
Like if they were private, like if it was private security, 100%. You better have insurance. Like me as a speaker, I have to have insurance that cover me at events. So if I go to an event and they damage the person's property, they can sue me, or they can try to come after me. But I have insurance already because I'm a private entity acting on behalf of myself. So a private security company, yes. But when you are sworn to uphold the Constitution on behalf of the state, you work for the government. Like you are not an independent actor. So
that's a good point.
That's the problem that people are missing, because they see officers and they look at them as isolated people. They're actually acting on behalf of the state. An officer cannot arrest you on something that he feel like is a crime. He has to only arrest you according to the laws that are on like in our state, the Arizona Revised Statute. His good faith behavior is good faith on behalf of the state, good faith on behalf of the laws. Now, we already have certification as a police officer in a particular state. And if you violate or you do something, you can lose your certification, which means you can never be a police officer again. That's a separate argument.
In that state, though.
Yeah, in that state. So, but the thing is, here's also the thing. If you go to another state, now, I have never seen this happen, but I'm not sure how they do this, right? If I got fired, man, you get fired from Macy's, you're going to have a hard time going and working at another department store, right? Because they're going to say, you got fired for embezzling money. Or, they didn't prosecute you, but you got fired for embezzling money.
A lot of officers quit before they're fired, though. Before that's like a thing. And
that I think can change, because the chief does that, right?
Right.
Because we had a situation like that on our department where they gave a guy an option.
Yes.
You retire, you retire in lieu of termination.
Right.
Do you want to keep your pension, or you want us to fire you? And so sometimes if a person has 30 years on the department and they do, like we had some guys do happy endings, right? They got some happy endings at the thing.
And got trust.
So they allowed some of those guys to resign.
Right.
So if they resign, they still get to keep their pension or whatever. And they go.
Right.
So, but we would argue sometimes that the chief should then fire them immediately, because a chief can fire you immediately for, I would say dereliction of duty, or if you, cowardice, stuff like that. Chief can fire you automatically. But I think the public is they're listening to activists.
Yes, they are.
Activists see a principle, a law, or something that they find juicy, and they want to exploit you on that. These activists have no idea what they're talking about. Because if you want to get rid of qualified immunity for police, you have to get rid of qualified immunity across the board, which will be judges,
everybody,
and all kinds of people, man. And like, they're not thinking about it. So my term is that let's leave qualified immunity alone, and let's hold officers accountable, and let's hold chiefs accountable, and to where if the person makes a legitimate mistake according to the policy, and you've acted in good faith to retain this officer by giving them remedial training, as long as it doesn't reach a certain threshold, you can give them training and they can become better. If they do stuff like excessive force, they're fired.
Right.
That's it. They say, I mean, when I say excessive force, I mean gross excessive force. Not you fighting the guy and you get the best of him and you slam him on the ground and then you twist his arm a little too hard in the heat of the moment and that person dislocates his arm. Excessive force. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that you just doing a guy like this and he's not even resistant, or the guy's in handcuffs and you kick him in the head. Fired.
Right.
And charged.
Correct.
That's a crime. You assault a person in handcuffs, that's a crime. It's called aggravated assault. That's a felony. That's what we were taught.
Right.
But one of the guys in our department, guy spit on him and he reacted and hit him. The guy was in handcuffs. Now, the cop didn't lose his job. Can you see why? I mean, there's nuances to it.
Yeah, he was probably
got disciplined. He got like 40 out. He got like what is it? 40. He got like 80 hours off, no pay. Dude, that is devastating.
Yeah.
So he got disciplined, man, but he didn't lose his job. So, anyway, man, I know we could talk forever about people.
Man, we can, bro. Listen.
I just hope that it was conveyed well. I think that the qualified immunity is something that's like, it's like there's so many other, that's like gun laws, changing the age to 21. Dude, there's so many laws already on the books that we should be actually enforcing, instead of trying to create new laws. Instead of trying to take away qualified immunity, let's just hold these officers accountable. That's very simple. Let's just hold them accountable. They get fired. And, civil liability, you acting on behalf of the state, then that's the state's fault. You as a person, it's very...
It's a good point.
That's the balance, dude. It's like because you can't... When I was a cop, I couldn't have my own personal beliefs, right? I can't talk to you about religion unless you start with me, and then we can have a conversation, but I can't talk to you about religion. I can't have my own personal beliefs. I can't just do whatever I want to do because I'm not acting on behalf of Brandon Tatum. I'm acting on behalf of the state. When you go and testify in court against a defendant, you are the state versus this person, not Officer Tatum versus this person. The state versus James Brown.
Right.
We're acting on behalf of the state. We're certified through the state. So we have protections and coverage through the state because they are the ones that formulate our use of force, formulate our policies, formulate our training. And so all of that liability is on the state, unless you go out and you commit a crime, and then therefore you are not protected by qualified immunity. And
that's true.
And I also want to add this too. It's also unions. People think, the unions are doing it. You commit a crime, the union can't save you. You know what I'm saying? It's not like the union can say, hey, judge, he's a part of a union and aggravated assault is not covered in the union. It's like, no, bro, you're going to prison. The union.
The issue is the union. They have issues with the union and how they interact with politics, right? How they have their hands in pockets of some politicians, and how and so that's the issue. And a lot of people don't know, every police department, every state does not have a union. We don't have a union down here. When you mess up, they let you go in Georgia, right? So we don't have that. So there's no, I forgot the term they use about the type of contract or something. But anyways, we don't have it here. But I do see the issue where people have with the unions. It does seem like they're a very strong force. They again are an umbrella that protect good and bad officers. They protect the officers from their department.
Yeah.
From being mistreated and abused from their department.
And we need that.
And
my union was necessary because we had the FOP, right? Big national, and then we had our own union, so people can sign up for which one they wanted to do. But we needed it because the union got us raises. The union made sure we were protected, made sure we drive safe cars. The union made sure they give us benefits, and they negotiate our contracts, like whether we get raises in the future, whether we get steps, whether we get medical coverage. The union fights on our behalf on so many ways. The union fights so they can't throw you under the bus. Meaning, if you didn't do anything wrong, the officer in DC, we donated like $75,000 to that officer's fund for him to be protected because they tried to fire him because the dude came up to him and said, "Are you going to shoot us like Ma'Khar Bryant?" And he said, "Are you going to stab somebody like Ma'Khar Bryant?" And they tried to fire him over that.
Right.
Because BLM called the police station. And then so we called the police station. And then obviously he kept his job. But the union will step in and say, you're trying to fire him. What policy did he violate?
There you go.
Because you guys are taking political pressure, and the officer did not do nothing wrong according to the policy.
And yes, case in
But
point, that would have been exactly the union would have protected the officer. I don't remember his name, who shot Rayshard Brooks.
Yes.
And when I explained to people he should have never been fired,
yes,
the politicians, right? The mayor forced his firing along with the DA. They trumped up these false all those officers involved and the ones who drug out the little kids out of the car and tased them. He and the DA at the time, Paul, I can't remember his name, but they ended up saying that the taser was a deadly weapon, right? And then I don't know if you remember that part, but he said it was a deadly weapon. Yeah. And then when the Rayshard Brooks situation said the taser is not a deadly weapon, he put himself in a trick bag. And so, but the politicians, right? The politicians and the politics caused almost 6 officers to lose their job. And then the city had to give them their job back. And now they're suing the city. Now, the media doesn't cover that part. But if there was a union, the union would have stood up for those officers and said, you cannot fire those officers because they follow policy. And the officers did not have a union, and they had to fight on their own. And it's people don't see that part. So
yes, bro. Our union, our union, police association or whatever, I forget what they call it now. They were on the department's butt. They tried to fire one of my guys. Yeah. Because this is another thing. When you get in an officer involved shooting, you don't immediately have counsel, right? You just shot a person. You don't have a lawyer. The union will come. The union rep will come and make sure that they don't violate your rights. Because you have garrity, which you have to give an initial statement, but you don't have to give them a statement outside of a lawyer, outside of your initial statement.
Correct.
But the police department feel the pressure, and they may make you confess to something. So your union rep will come and protect you, get you water, make sure they don't violate your rights, make sure you are understanding what your rights are.
Right.
And people don't understand that aspect. And like, we needed the union, bro, because the police department try to get you sometimes, man. Yes, they try to throw you under the bus. They try to fire you. They try to reprimand you. I'll give you one example, and I'm shutting up. This one lady, she changed her name because it was worldwide. These women and this one dude, I'm friends with him. I hate to say it. He was a pimp, bro. I mean, not a legal pimp, but the dude had women. He had the women, right?
Yeah.
So he done got 2 women to kiss each other and record it in the locker room at the police station. He got women sending him naked pictures in the police uniform on his personal phone, right? This is personal stuff. One guy on the SWAT team decided to show it to all the SWAT operators. And a supervisor saw it, and they said, oh, my God. And everybody deleted it. But what they did was they saw this particular lieutenant. She was a lieutenant, and she was very attractive lieutenant.
One in every department, boy.
So she was a lieutenant, and what they did was they demoted her to sergeant.
Okay.
And her argument is that this man in a private text sent it to people, and it's all deleted, and then y'all don't have any evidence of it. This is rumors that y'all saw me here and there, and you demoted me.
Wow.
And that's not right. The union defended her. She ended up having to change her name because it went all over the internet. But the union defended her. Not only did they get her job back as a lieutenant, they got her job. She ended up becoming a captain, and they had to pay her back pay for all of that time she was supposed to be a lieutenant, and the compensation for her. She was supposed to be promoted to captain when all this happened. Same thing happened to a brother in Philly. I was a part of the National Black Police Officer Association when I first started. I forget the guy's name. He was a motor officer in Philly. It was a viral video. A drunk woman slapped him, and he tried to armbar, and she hit her face on the ground, and they demoted him from captain to lieutenant. His union stepped up. They had PR for him. They paid for his lawsuit. He ended up winning, getting his job back, and they had to pay him back pay for like 2 years, bro. They had him demoted for like 2 years while all this happened. They paid him a crap ton of money. And so that's the police officer's obligation. But I want people to understand this. If you commit a crime, the union can't help you. The Arizona Revised Statute or the Georgia Penal Code says this is a crime. And if you get indicted on that crime, your union can't change the law.
Correct.
The union is only there to make the department be held accountable.
Right.
And let me give you one more example. I'm going to shut up. My friend who's on the SWAT team with me, This guy, and it's weird. It's a weird situation. People are going to
Yeah.
judge these people anyway. This guy, he. There's some officers at a Dunkin' Donuts, right? And they taking a call there, right? They're in the parking lot.
Why ain't they eating, right?
They may be eating. I don't know. I cannot confirm it or not. They were eating. So this guy pulled up on a motorcycle. He pulls up. Rah, 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 rah. He's now engaging with these officers for no reason.
Right.
He sticks the middle finger up at the officers. He's antagonizing them. He take off down the street, and he take off at a high rate of speed. So now he's going 60, 70 miles. An officer pull out to go pull him over because now he's burning out and going at a high rate of speed. The officer's driving after him. The helicopter gets up. This guy is now going 120, 130 miles per hour down residential streets.
Right.
Going through lights at 100 and something. What they try to do is they try to get out in front of him in case he crashes, in case he stops, so they can then jump out and arrest him. This dude is going so fast that one of my guys was hearing him calling out on the radio. Now, people don't know that the radio has a delay. It's like a few second delay. I don't know if y'all have the analog radio where you click it and it goes dee-dee-dee, and then you can talk.
Correct.
So it's a slight delay. So the guys are calling out his location, but you know it's that slight delay, and then it's a delay from location to them calling out to the officers.
Right.
So the guy is hearing that he's back a distance. So he tries to go make a U-turn to go back down the street to try to intercept him down the street. This guy's going so fast that by the time they click dee-dee-dee and they call out a street, he's now halfway to the next street.
Right.
The officer goes to make the U-turn, hear this motorcycle come, and he come and hit the front of the car, and he's dead. Right? He's going 120. They had a citizen board, and I was on the board on behalf of the police officer. They had a citizen board to come out and say, yeah, that officer deserves to be fired and potentially charged because he intentionally tried to block the motorcyclist. Thank God we have a union. Thank God we had other officers with common sense because we had to explain to the lady it was impossible for him to know where the guy was at because the rate of speed he was going, how many feet per second, and how many seconds it took for a person to get on the rear and say, dee-dee-dee. It looked like he's passing Speedway.
Right. He already passed it.
Air unit confirmed it looked like he's passing Speedway. The guy's going so fast. And then my guy is, obviously explained that like nobody in their right mind will try to pull in front of a motorcycle at 120 miles per hour. For the officer, that's instant death if he T-bone you and that motorcycle go through the car.
Correct.
So
and putting the officer at risk too is another thing.
And the way the wheels were canted, they had to do all this to clear this officer. But go to say is that the union was able to represent him well and send me to the thing to review the case and to give perspective. Because the citizen board didn't know how the radio worked. They didn't know that he was traveling at like a block a second.
Right.
They didn't know that he was out traveling the sound of the motorcycle. Because the lady was like, he should be able to hear the motorcycle coming. And the guy said, when you're traveling at this rate of speed, he's out traveling the sound of the exhaust. So there's no way the officer could have even heard him coming.
Right.
And so, but that's the stuff. And that if that officer didn't have representation like that, he would have potentially been on trial. He would end up beating the trial, but he would have went through all of that when all he needed was union representation. Somebody that represent the officer on his behalf before he gets to the grand jury and all that stuff.
Correct. And that's the piece that's missing. And a lot of this, and again, which is why I started my channel to bring context to the conversation. Some people want to hear it. Some people appreciate. A lot of people don't want to hear it from me at all. Again, I'm also called a sellout and an Uncle Tom as well from some people. It's very unfortunate. It's very disheartening. At the end of the day, I'm just here to want to educate and provide mediation from a very difficult topic, man. A lot of people have no clue the nuance in this job. And at the same time, even with unions, you do have some officers who aren't that good at the job who end up becoming also protected as well. And I think people just sometimes want to hear us say that. And I think that sometimes that's missing from the conversation. But Brandon, man, this has been a great conversation. I'm very grateful for you taking the opportunity to have this conversation with me. As you know, there's so much to talk about, and we definitely got to do it again. Definitely got to talk about more reform ideas. Like you really opened my mind up in reference to that idea in regards to providing insurance for officers. You made a very, very strong, valid point, which is the reason why I want to bring a lot of these ideas, some that I received from some of my followers as well, as to like, hey, here's the things that we have issues with. Let's bring context to it. I think it'd be a great discussion and just have a show just on police reform and throw a bunch of ideas, debate a couple ideas, and really bring some insight to a very complex issue that a lot of people aren't afforded the opportunity to know and understand because they did not do the job. We're two officers who move with integrity. We policed through ourselves, but also through our views on faith, our views on love for people, and wanting to serve the people and the citizens, and especially the Black community. I think that's a big thing as well. Let me ask you this in closing, though, Brandon. What's next for you? Right, Brandon Tatum, the man, the myth, the legend. You know, I think you have almost like 2 million subscribers. You know, shout out to you. Congratulations, man. I'm new to this space. And man, when I get a new subscriber, I do a cartwheel, man. I can't even fathom. You know, you got it out the mud, man. You put in the work, you put the grind in. And not only that, you are a dynamic voice on YouTube, and you're also a dynamic voice outside of YouTube. And so people see you. I think after seeing this interview, they're going to have a better, hopefully a renewed understanding. And renewed understanding. And listen, it's okay for us to disagree on certain things, two sides of the same coin. One can argue that at the end of the day, we know that the situation needs to get better. And though we might share different perspectives and nuances here and there, reality is we want to see a difference. We want to see a change so that citizens have a better outcome with law enforcement, and also the Black community have a better love and appreciation to law enforcement, and law enforcement have a better understanding on how the Black community wants to be served and treated. What's next for Brandon Tatum?
Man,
What's going on?
I'm just letting God lead me, man. That's
All
all
right.
I can do. You know, I just got the syndicated radio show. I took over for Larry Elder
Oh,
on
sweet.
Salem News. Appreciate it. And so that was the next step that I've taken. You know, so many things I want to do. You know, Candace Owens and I have Blexit, which is our nonprofit organization, and so we just trying to expand that. We're in 41 states. We just want to make it better. We want to get connected into the Black churches and Black communities in a more effective and efficient way. We already are everywhere, but we want to be more effective. You know, we think we can continue to do better in that area. I just want to keep speaking and having a voice on YouTube. Hopefully I get 2 million. I'm gonna have a big celebration. I want to write more books. I want to create you know, my mind is I want to do a documentary on policing. I think police officers don't have a voice.
Nope.
I would love for you to be a part of it when I do it, but police officers don't have a voice. I want the world to hear multifaceted perspectives from police officers, because I'm not the one voice. You know, me and you may disagree on some things. It's fine, man. We both are acting in good faith. We may see things differently. They don't make you right, I'm wrong. They don't make you bad, I'm good, or whatever the case may be. It's like, but the world needs to hear from all of us, because there are some officers that may totally disagree with me. But I think that people need to hear that perspective. So eventually I want to do that. I'm obviously an entrepreneur. You know, I've been developing an energy drink that hopefully we can get the nuance and come out with it here soon, maybe by the end of the year. But I mean, all kind of stuff, man. I do it all, man. I'm not just a YouTuber.
Right.
You know, I have a whole staff of people that I pay, that I have, you know, that have benefits. I have a team of people that I do things with. I have an online news network. You know, I'm just trying to do and maximize everything God put in me to the best of my ability till I'm gone.
Amen.
And so what's next for me is only God can tell. Just know I'm acting in good faith, and I'm trying to lift up the name of Jesus, and I'm trying to be as truthful and honest and transparent and authentic as I can. And then we'll see how that all crumble at the end of the day.
Hey, I heard that, man. Listen, shout out the book too, because I know you have a book. I just found out recently. If you got a copy to us, and then if you could send me some links to your to the radio, and then also to the book where people can find your book. Give us a little,
And so I would love to send you one of these books too.
Hey, man.
I think we'll get your address. I'll send you one. But Being Black and Blue was a book I wrote. I think it was a year and a half ago. It's confusing because during COVID, I wrote the book already, but then we couldn't publish it till later. But I wrote the book maybe a year and a half ago, and it's about being a Black police officer in America.
Sweet.
And in the book, I interview Black and white police officers to tell the story of the things that we go through in policing and the things that I believe could change. I brought up some in the book. We talk about situations that are justified shootings, situations that are unjustified shootings, understanding the difference. We talk about George Floyd and this whole thing, and also Chauvin. I give a breakdown of what I think about that case. We talk about police reform. We talk about what does defunding the police, how does that affect police officers? And one thing that I think people will find very interesting, two things that we give solutions at the end of the book.
Okay.
Myself and 5 other officers give solutions to the problems at the end. And then at the beginning, you get a little taste of like who I am, where I come from, why I became a police officer. Some funny stories about when I got arrested at 8 years old for smoking marijuana in a vacant house. So I think people will enjoy the book, man. I'll send you a copy. We'll get you a copy. And if people are interested in buying it, just theofficertatum.com. You can find merch, you can find books, you can find podcasts, everything at theofficertatum.com.
Man, listen, and then please, send me those links. I want to add them to the description and let people know as well. Listen, Brandon, I'm so grateful again. Truly a blessing to have you. I'm looking forward to working with you more on a lot of different things. And if you ever need my input or my insight or a difference in opinion, if you ever want to debate on some issues, I'm always down, brother. I'm always down. Thank you, and God bless you, man, and your family as well, and the work that you're doing. Again, thank you so much for that. And listen, man, with that being said, you guys, listen, let the truth find you where the lies have left you. I say that all the time because a lot of truth always needed to bring into a conversation where lies are present. So Brandon, thank you again, brother. I can't say it enough, man. Thank you so much. All right.
God bless you, brother. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on this amazing interview. Listen, you guys, I'm so appreciative that you are here with us in the member section and you had an opportunity to watch the stream. I'm really curious to know what you thought. I'm really excited as well to get your feedback. And listen, I want to give a special shout out to Brandon Tatum, you guys. Listen, I reached out to him. We had a great conversation. He was excited about doing the interview, and it really meant a lot to me. I really appreciate him taking the time to have the conversation, you guys. We covered a lot, and there was a lot of things we weren't able to cover, so I'm looking forward to reconnecting with him again and having more conversations relating to law enforcement and the issues along with the solutions, you guys. So I hope that you found this informative. Hope that you enjoyed yourself as well. And listen, I will put Brandon Tatum's information around here as well as in the video description, you guys. Please go and check him out. Please go and support the work that he's doing. He's doing a lot of great things in and out of YouTube, entrepreneur and within politics, you guys. Listen, he also has a book. He's an author, and I heard the book is doing extremely well, Beating Black and Blue, you guys. He was able to send me a copy. So Brandon Tatum, thank you so much. I sent the care package to you, brother. I hope that you received it well. And I just want to say thank you again for the opportunity. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to those who subscribe to the channel, those who are new to the channel. I really appreciate all that you do and just supporting me in this journey as a translator, as a mediator between two powerful forces, the police and the people. You guys, at the end of the day, we need each other, and one cannot exist without the other. And so moving forward, I'm looking forward to having more tough discussions, interviewing more phenomenal people on the channel, and I'm looking forward to your continued support and feedback. If you see value in this channel, please subscribe, please share, like these videos, you guys. And again, thank you so much for your support. And with that being said, listen, let these truths find you where the lies have left you. Good night, and God bless.